This is the story of how a humble billboard company based out of Savannah, Georgia, grew into one of the largest and most influential television and media conglomerates the world has seen. Granted, there were a few crucial steps in between those two historical bookends that need to be discussed. Stick around to see the many twists and turns that this prominent television conglomerate has taken over the years. Facts First presents America's first Superstation, how WTBS took over cable TV. From billboards to the small screen, Turner Broadcasting Systems can trace its roots back to a billboard company in Savannah, Georgia, called Turner Advertising Company. It was purchased by Robert Edward Turner II in the late 1940s. Robert's son, Ted Turner, ended up inheriting the company after Robert took his own life in 1963. Ted expanded the company into radio and television advertising. The formal entity, Turner Broadcasting System, was officially incorporated on May 12, 1965. Ted Turner purchased the small UHF station WJRJ Atlanta, Channel 17, in 1970. He changed its name to WTCG after the parent company Turner Communications Group. While it's technically what the TCG stood for, Turner frequently said during those formative years that the station's call letters really represented "Watch this channel grow." Ted Turner has always been a remarkably ambitious man. If he sets his mind to something, chances are he'll accomplish it. If anything, Turner's passion is what transformed him into one of the most powerful players in the entertainment industry. He set out to watch his channel grow, and that's exactly what he planned to do. In December of 1976, WTCG came up with the novel Superstation concept and started transmitting their 24/7 broadcasts via satellite to cable systems across the country. The network's first broadcast was beamed to 4 cable systems in Newport News, Virginia, Newton, Kansas, Troy, Alabama, and Grand Island, Nebraska. All 4 systems started receiving the signal at 1 p.m. on December 17, 1976. The first thing broadcast on the fledgling Superstation was the 1948 Dana Andrews and Cesar Romero film Deep Waters, which was already in progress after starting 30 minutes earlier. Overnight, WTCG went from being a little, relatively unknown local TV station to a major TV network that more than 24,000 homes outside of the 675,000 in Atlanta, Georgia, was receiving throughout the nation. It became the first Superstation, thus laying the groundwork that countless basic cable TV networks would continue to follow. Some might point to HBO as being the first to claim that title, seeing as how they made the move to satellite transmission to distribute their signal in 1975. But the key difference there is that their service required cable subscribers to pay extra to get it. Ted Turner's innovation was one that was far more accessible to the average consumer, as his channel was available to anyone who had a basic cable subscription. In 1979, Ted's company changed its name to Turner Broadcasting System Incorporated, and the call letters of its primary entertainment channel changed to WTBS. Up until that point, the channel was identified as Channel 17, both in the Atlanta market as well as on cable systems outside of the Atlanta metropolitan area. Even after changing the call sign to WTBS, however, Turner still incorporated the number 17 into the logo of Superstation WTBS. 17 update early in the morning. While TBS airs a variety of programming, one format that it doesn't currently produce is news. But back in the day, they dabbled in the news business, albeit reluctantly. To keep up with FCC requirements, WTBS aired a 20-minute newscast from 1975 to 1979. It was called 17 Update Early in the Morning. It was hastily taped at the end of each workday and aired at around 3 a.m. in between movies. The show didn't attempt to take itself seriously and was quite similar to satires like Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update. While the FCC required TBS to broadcast news, they never stipulated when they had to do it, nor was it required to be delivered in a serious tone. The snide news program developed a cult following due to its wild antics, but was canceled a few months before Turner began his serious news project, CNN. In the early 80s, TBS Superstation began airing its own newscast show called TBS Evening News, which was actually produced by CNN. The show was also quickly phased out, and TBS has since shied away from carrying any news coverage. The basic cable revolution was televised. Banking on the success of WTBS, Ted Turner and Company launched Cable News Network, aka CNN, on June 1, 1980 at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. The station was the first 24-hour cable news channel. The first newscast was anchored by the husband and wife team of Dave Walker and Lois Hart. The first executive producer of CNN, Burt Reinhardt, hired the majority of the network's 200 employees and 25 staff members, including Bernard Shaw, the station's first full-time news anchor. Always looking to expand his ever-growing media empire, Ted Turner and his company, Turner Broadcasting System, bought the film production company Brute Productions from Fabergé Inc. in 1981. That same year, WTBS began airing its programming on, quote, Turner Time, which involved shows beginning 5 minutes after the top and bottom of the hour, as opposed to the industry norm of beginning at the top and bottom of the hour. Fortunately, this peculiar practice eventually was phased out. Turner also made the decision to have almost all of WTBS's programming continue to air both locally and nationally, although to separate feeds. Locally in Atlanta, the station was known as Superstation 17. Nationally, however, the station no longer mentioned the number 17, nor would it have logos identifying it as anything but Superstation WTBS. Separate sets of ads would air on the national Superstation feed, and a few shows were nixed locally to make room for FCC-mandated news, public service announcements, and children's shows. Not everything Turner touched turned to gold. In 1984, he founded Cable Music Channel, a network that was meant to be the direct competitor of MTV. Unfortunately, that channel quickly fizzled. Even so, it's credited with having influenced the original format of VH1. In 1986, Turner made a failed attempt to acquire CBS. After that deal fell through, he purchased the studio MGM UA Entertainment Company from Kirk Kerkorian for a hefty $1.5 billion. After making that acquisition, however, Turner, who had a major debt to contend with, ended up selling parts of the acquisition off. He sold parts back to Kerkorian, and the studio lot in Culver City went to Lorimar Telepictures. The deal wasn't a total loss, as Turner got to keep MGM's pre-May 1986 film and television library, as well as the pre-1950 Warner Brothers film library, and the U.S.-Canadian distribution rights to the RKO Pictures library. After acquiring those lucrative libraries, Turner Entertainment Co. was founded on the 4th of August, 1984. A decade later, Turner launched Turner Classic Movies, a cable network that primarily broadcast classic films from the Turner Entertainment Film Library. The switchover to Peachtree TV. In June 2007, Turner Broadcasting announced that WTBS was going to be changing its call letters to become WPCH-TV. It was also going to be rebranded as Peachtree TV. According to Ted, the new Channel 17 would air sitcoms and films geared specifically towards the Atlanta audience. The station additionally would broadcast 45 Atlanta Braves games for the following season. When that change was made on October 1, 2007, it allowed Atlanta cable and satellite customers to receive the national TBS signal for the first time since the early 80s. Oddly, in Canada, the majority of cable and satellite TV providers carried the local WTBS signal as opposed to the national one. Following the Peachtree TV change, Canadian systems were legally obligated to continue carrying the Peachtree TV signal instead of the national feed. In 2017, Turner sold Peachtree TV to the Meredith Corporation. In 2021, it was acquired by Gray Television and was reformatted as a traditional independent station with a separate schedule that exclusively caters to the Atlanta market. As of April 2022, Warner Media merged with Discovery Inc. to form WBD, or Warner Brothers Discovery. A few days later, it was announced that WBD had suspended original scripted series development for TBS and its sister network TNT to evaluate the channel's strategies. As of today, TBS seems to be a dying brand, as the network only has 3 original series still airing: Chad, Miracle Workers, and American Dad. More bad news about the network broke on May 11th when it was announced that Brett Welts was removed as the general manager for the T channels, i.e. TBS, True TV, and TNT. Since Welts' removal, the channels are now under the oversight of Kathleen Finch, the head of U.S. networks. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think the future holds for TBS and Peachtree TV? Let us know in the comments section below.